Happy, happy almost happy 6 months from your birthday.
Yeah, 41.5. Exactly, 41. Maybe not
Yeah,
exactly, actually, if you count
yeah.
days.
Actually, that will be like we should celebrate that. Like my half a year, like the
Yeah,
solstice of summer is my half year. I should celebrate
yeah.
that.
Should get cake.
Are you in Puff now, Danny, or where are you?
Yeah, that matters. And also preparing it open, but very much in my own creative cave. You guys are the only exception that I do with communicating. I, I don't talk to anyone. I've been on a fast. I'm like meditating. I'm working on my creative stuff, and I haven't been talking to anyone. So
But like, and house pub is there's a lot of people now these days.
so there's quite a lot of people, but as I said, I don't mingle at all. I don't join the
Yeah.
dinner. I'm really like in my. I'm building a big thing in the big studio, so.
Nice. Yes, yes. I remember there was a period I was building the light setting for a show in Brigittine's, and I have to check the lights. And because the big studio was the only place I could do that for internet and other things, but the light was not, I needed to work with light, so I have to wake up at 2 in the morning and go into the big studio to start working from 2 till 4 to just play with that. And sometimes people, I don't know, like they cannot sleep and they will cross the space like as normally you will, and then they're just like shocked with these lights in their face. And that's really funny to see that.
Yeah, I already put signs everywhere. Don't walk on work.
Oh,
Because that's
But how,
exactly where you want to cross, right?
yeah,
To walk
yeah.
by. Yeah.
Oh. But I remember when I was studying in the academy like in Bogota, like I think it was the first week I go to study theater and in the academia, and then there is like I go to the lockers and there was literally there was a hanging sock on a yeah in a on a cloth hanger. I was like, so it was, I mean, it was with some material, so now I know it was art, but back then I was like, what is going on here? And it was clearly hanging in the, but at the same time there's clothes from dancers on the floor, so it's difficult to know, like, is this just that's the piece of art, but then this is not, what is the border of this?
and here we are 20 years later, still wrestling with the same questions.
It's true.
There you go.
Doesn't change anything. It's true. That's why we need the sign like don't step on the art,
Oh my gosh. Oh my
or
gosh.
please step on the art.
Exactly. Can you touch this? I hate this, like when you go to the exhibition and like, can I touch this? Am I supposed to touch this? No, I'm not supposed to touch this. No, but this one I'm supposed to touch this. Like, like, please, please, no.
uh, how are we doing with our own process?
Our own art.
Yes.
Yeah, I think it was okay for me. The task was, I mean, I was reflecting also because I think now to share the last week that, and also he shared with me that like it's not easy for him to speak, I think, about himself. For me, like to get into that exercise, I don't know if I do it good or wrong, but I think it's a space that I jump easier.
Yeah, it's not easy. I understand. And I hope that there will be also that it will be beneficial for you, nevertheless, to and
Totally.
also yeah, we can move also more towards the work. But I'm just there's a reason why we're doing it. I hope that it becomes clear.
Yeah, there was
um
there was one thing that yeah, but I guess we will just speak through when we start like then sharing what we did.
okay, I will just I have a problem with my Wi-Fi on the computer and I don't know how to You maybe
Danny, I
email.
have sometimes problems with the audio. Maybe you can come close a bit, or I mean, it's just sometimes.
Now it's okay.
Now it's way better. Yeah.
Okay, so I will hold it. It's just that I cannot very easily look at the doc on the phone. Or I can
Right.
actually try to do that. It's fine. I guess if you share it in the chat, I can open it on the phone and then I just don't see you guys.
Okay.
Or you
So,
email it to
Although-
me, or you email the doc to me, and then I can, like, if you share stuff that I have to read, you email them to me, then I can read them on the computer and still see you guys.
Yeah, I
yeah,
think will
maybe
be
that's
easier
easier.
because I think the Google Docs is not optimized for a phone. It makes things like not easy to follow through.
Okay, cool.
So what if we maybe now we put together these two things and then we
I'm on
just
it. Yeah.
okay, maybe I just copy paste what I have.
Yeah.
We just
I
put
wish
it in
I,
the
I wish
manual.
I had now just techno speed.
Yeah.
Sometimes I want less.
It's,
Maybe that's a luxury problem.
Jorge. My name is Jorge. Homework. This is
Are you?
mine. Yes, this is okay.
So it's so funny that you guys call it homework.
I like it now. I like it now. But I was when I start like I like it.
Homework.
I have
Where
to.
are you? Where are you sending, Jorge?
Let's just put it in the pre-user manual. I think this is the easier. It's just to not make a new
Okay.
thing.
Okay.
Dani pre-user manual here. For him and then this. So that's mine. Yeah.
Okay. So I'm gonna send it to Dani. Is Daniela Belshon Gmail, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Perfect. I'm just gonna move to the table now that I smoked my illegal cigarette.
Oh.
Did you put it there, Naoto? Yours? I don't see yours.
Oh, but I sent both documents to her, but
Okay.
because yeah, I worked on the same doc as last time.
Okay.
Fine. It should, I mean, I can also put a link in there.
Yeah, that's the same for me. Marina, what? Jorge, uh, Dani, it's as no, Naoto, Jorge. Yeah. Okay. So we are in the page called Naoto Jorge pre-manual.
So I go to Jorge. Now to Jorge, sorry. Okay.
Naoto Jorge pre-user manual. And in my page, in that page, we can read together mine.
Okay.
Yeah, I
At
can
the
just paste it too. Maybe that's easier
Yeah, I think
than,
it's easier, especially if we're
yeah.
going.
Yeah.
I start seeing this word homework everywhere now. This is funny. Okay. Okay.
But sorry, where in the doc are we? I'm a
Yes.
bit confused. Where it says
So
home. No,
Yes.
that we did last week already.
I'm gonna take this away and put it at the bottom of the page.
Right. Okay. Yes.
Yeah. And I'll
Okay.
take this away.
Yes. Same. Okay. Good. We are in the same page, all of us, right?
Literally, yeah.
But where in the page are we where it says homework?
Yeah, it says yeah, index for our manual homework, and then yeah, now it's highlighted.
Well, that was the
Okay.
instruction. And then mine, and Jorge's.
Okay. I see. So we start with Jorge.
No, let's start with Naoto. There is the, I mean, if you, the thing is,
Whichever.
let's go with Naoto first.
Don't like to read stuff, so shall we just read it ourselves, or can you read this, or shall one of us read it, or what is the best way for you?
Maybe like we can just like go through everything, just read on our own and come back.
Okay.
Mine, I think it has to is well
To be
like
read aloud.
yeah, because it's not completely edited. So yeah, so we can do that with yours, and then then we can come back together, and then we do mine out loud.
Yep. Okay.
Beautiful. Okay. I'm done with Naoto. Are you too, Jorge?
I'm almost there.
Okay.
Wow. Hmm. Thanks for that out.
Thanks. It's also very interesting to see how both of you have interpreted the assignment differently. But that's very nice, I think. Maybe we read Jorge's first and then we talk about everything together. Is that a good idea?
Yeah.
Oh, I
Yeah.
haven't gone through it for his text yet, but
No, we
is,
go
is
to
the
Jorge.
We do it out loud mine. So maybe
Okay.
if you want to start reading mine now.
Yeah, maybe I can do like the first, I don't know, 3. Fear of not knowing ancestry and future. I have a fear of the future. I wonder if we have forgotten about our roots and our language. Fear of the other from the lens of cyberfeminism. I have a fear of the other. I wonder how to truly connect with the other while at the same time knowing and speaking about our limits. Fear of not knowing enough war, human activity, and trust. I have fear of not knowing enough. I wonder if we could find a way to acknowledge this. Can go with another one.
Maybe I go there because it's a bit of a mess.
Okay.
Fear of death, other uncertainty. I have fear of not knowing. I wonder if that is a substance that we could learn more from. I think you and me as individuals, while not addressing each other, have experience embodying the metastability of the substance. We get into our individual work and catalyze its potential with a given form. For example, I might start shaking my hair, you might start coding something on the computer, but when we address each other with a message mediated through a specific form, we often react/shape form too fast. How can we stay together under on the uncertainty. It demands clarity of each other as individuals to share a concrete substance before moving / reacting towards a specific form. Yeah, I think I will not go there. Dani, you want to read the next fear?
Yeah. Could stay with that substance together. We could stay with that substance together to shape form when, if I feel we have experience being calm and doing when not knowing what to do. I feel it is also a space where we often react, shape, form to in time, being good and not knowing to express this fear informal ways to how we can share the support that we have for not knowing. If that substance is a place where we can explore. Form to communicate that comes as form in communication exercise, the emitter, the receiver, and a message. That message is mediated form. Fear of disconnection from family, connected by technology, empathy with machines. I fear not being able to communicate with my family. I fear that some machines might stop working one day. I wonder if it's possible to build a different relation than master-slave with a machine, yet acquiring if the expected outcome. I wonder how a machine thinks and feels. I wonder how they perceive their body, how they perceive us. GPT correcting. I worry about losing the ability to communicate with my family and the possibility of machines failing one day. I question whether we can establish a relationship with machines that goes beyond a master-slave dynamic while still achieving the desired results. I ponder how machines think and feel, how they perceive their own bodies, and how they perceive us. Fear of health, fear of death, health, and ancestry. I have fear of death. I wonder how conscious we are about the fragilities of our bodies. Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
There's a lot of really valuable things in both of yours. Can I just copy this thing that we made last week? I will do this, and put it back up here because we will need it again.
Sure.
Okay. Can we add a fourth column to this table, or is that not possible?
Yeah, I think. Um,
Actually, we need 5 columns, sorry. Okay, amazing. Okay, so okay. So what I think would be very good now I mean, first of all, I think it would be good if it's not too hard for you now to you say if you don't want to do it. But I would like to reflect a little bit on if this was useful, these exercises that we did now, if this was useful in any way to get kind of closer to the core of why you're making work and what do you want from the work, or if you feel it was just a distraction for you, because it's I mean, this is a way of work. I hear what you're saying now to that maybe this is not for everybody, so I would like to just honestly hear from the two of you, how did this in any way, was this in any way useful to you in a first round, and then in the second round also, is there anything new that came up through doing these exercises for what you want from this specific timeline and project? Okay, so is that okay if we if we reflect on that in conversation, Auto?
Yeah, I think it's great.
Okay.
So should I start, or
Yeah,
just to
like,
say, yeah, some words about the exercise? Yeah, I think it's I think it's valuable in a way that it's, to me, it's almost like a confrontation, because it's something that I don't usually talk explicitly, but obviously it's part of my work. Otherwise, like, I can't write these things. Like, if the exercise is not connected to the work, I think I'm not able to like expand on the thoughts. So it's yeah. So it's like definitely like going to the core, which always I'm thinking unconsciously, and yeah, it's a work exercise to put it into words so that others, well, in this case, it's Jorge and Dani, that you can see it. But it's always present to me. So I really appreciate it.
but can you like also go a little bit like, is this like something you did for the first time in this form when it comes to reflecting on your, or moving towards reflecting onto your own practice, or is this something that kind of always happens in the background and now it's like maybe coming a bit more to the foreground, or or is this like something that usually you don't work like this kind of thing?
I think I started, like, especially when I was in Colombia like 2 years ago, to talk about myself. Like,
True.
there are
Yeah.
two things. Like, one is the cards I'm making. They're like all like personal stories, and also I did a performance with, yeah, with me just talking and moving, and that's about my yeah, myself. But also, like, I think in both case, like, scenarios, like, I try to like have separation of me and the other when I tell the story. So if it's cards, you read it, I wouldn't like tell it to them. When I perform, I'm on the stage and others are audience, so that there's like clear separation and it's not like a dialogue. And also that's why I don't want to like speak, like read aloud what I wrote, because I still feel like I need kind of like
Yes.
separation. But it's not a bad thing to me.
Okay. Can you share the cards with us? Is that a possibility? I mean, not right now, but can you send them after the session so we can have a look at them for the next week?
You have a website of that,
Yeah,
no?
sure. I think the best one is, yeah, there are like a bunch of them. But maybe I just pick one that is easier to read, because um yeah, but I'll put the link there, and I'll also share in the chat later. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Um, Jorge,
So we do. So now, can you help me again?
like just to reflect a little bit on it's basically like also kind of feedback for this process, which I feel we're like kind of rounding up today and we're moving towards something else, you know. I mean, it's still the same process, but it's just a little bit, we're gonna try to like start focusing actually more on your performance right now. And I'm just curious of, did this do something to you? Did it help? Is it something you're used to doing? Is it something that you articulate for yourself? I don't know, in your journals or in your intimate life? Or are you also used to reflecting about these things when making art? Like, is it more like something in the background or is it more in the foreground? Like, I'm just curious of like how this like resonates with you to actually go into your vulnerabilities and see where you're at and check in with yourself before we are going to, you know, why we are making what we're doing in life, you know?
Yeah, thanks. I think I generally I feel that I find trouble pointing, or how to say this, like I think I can speak about things that happen, um but I don't have an emotional attachment to this. And so this and this has been a process that I have been through also with my psychologist for the last 3 4 years now, in feeling the facts of my history. um so it's complicated. I can speak out, but then, or I don't feel, or I feel that I'm dragged to the feeling, to the point that I cannot speak or I cannot move or like stream. So that said, I think the exercise helped me to share with you guys, things that are close to me to a certain extent. Um, yeah, but I feel that is not a I feel that is it's a complicated exercise. Somehow situating myself, like, I don't know. I found difficulty try to, I don't know. It's I feel this is so I guess in the past, in the work, I guess it will be in the background, but I guess I'm not formalized to to much extent. So I'm not formalized concretely what is happening, I guess, in relation to work. It is in the background, and I often think on the others very much. And but then, and I guess I can feel the other, or I want to to work towards the other, but then position myself in that relationality is not so easy to start from me. Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, the reason why I think, again, like let's just like go back to where we were a couple of weeks ago, okay? Which is like me pointing out to you that um there is something, I mean, there is something for every artist, obviously, of how they position themselves, right? It's like this is not just for you guys. I think this is really relevant for every single person that produces anything in the cultural field, right? And especially with your guys' work, is like if you will not, you know, position yourselves, you will be positioned. And this links also, the reason why I wanted to do this is also because there was a moment when this was actually when I had the more one-on-one conversations with Jorge preparing the text that I wrote for you, is because Jorge was pointing out to me, and of course we're all doing that, you know, that you talk to this curator, you talk to this institution, you talk to this person, and then every single time you kind of like frame the work differently. Of course, also because of economy, because you want to get a job, because you want to get the possibility of the funding, et cetera, et cetera. So it is normal, I think, that we all have different formulas, you know, for all of our works that we're doing. But I think within that, it is super crucial to not, you know, mix that up with yourself getting lost in why you're making the work, you know? So it's really, really important that we have a core, like, and all of this, the last weeks we've been doing to get a bit closer to the core. Because I don't think, I mean, of course, we're all making a living from, I don't know, cultural or academic production, and I'm not trying to like minimize the economy aspect of that. But let's also be real. If we were interested mainly in making money, you know, there would be better and smarter ways for us to do this than to make art, right? So there is another reason of what we want from art, or why we need art today, right? And I think the essence, I mean, you also invited me to do this with you, and obviously that is like my whole like life work is about rehearsing connection. And I'm also not trying to put this on you at all, but I do believe that, you know, all the works of art where we like sort of come out and we have an experience is because it touched us, because it moved something in us, because it connected us to something that is like kind of in a way which is in a way larger than just our like individual selves, right? But at the same time, the way we can do that, you know, we all know that feeling, like let's say in our lives, like we're talking to a person and then that person making themselves vulnerable, which is like one of the crucial connections for us to be able to actually build intimacy and build connection with that other person. And I really firmly believe also, and again, not to say that we have to make the things that we're sharing now in form of this exercise explicit in your work, and that you have to do like a kind of soul striptease in your work. But I do think it's really important to have those things super present, and to in yourself, especially when you go into a situation where you're experimenting, keep those things really close to you, so that when you have to take decisions on the way, this or that, you can each like fall back onto your core. And that it's not like because I think that's also what I wrote in the text. The things that you both have is this genuine presence, and that is like this gift of that will make it able for you to connect or transport or circulate, you know, whatever the things that are meaningful to you in this work with others. Does that make sense?
Yep. Yep.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think, for example, I mean, because these and a second thing is, you know, all the things that you mentioned now, also all the things that we already have in the overlap field, you know, the fear of not knowing, the fear of the ancestry future or losing that, the fear of the other, the fear of not being enough, trust, fear of death, fear of disconnection, fear of death, fear of health, all those things. I think, you know, if we would do like, I mean, that's the great news. If we would do a survey with like 100 or 1,000 like random people and ask them, what are your biggest fears right now, right? I'm sure that there would be quite some overlap there, right? There would be quite some people who are saying, oh, I'm fear of uncertainty and death. I'm fear of the other. I have fear of not being enough, which is a great thing, because, you know, we all the time get told, oh, we have to be so authentic and so original and all that. I personally don't believe in that. I think we're all, in a way, you know, if you want to say it in a negative way, people will say, oh, we're all such cliches. But I think it's important to reformulate that sentence actually, and to be like, we all have very similar like fears and desires and struggles, and that is also our possibility to actually connect to one another in a meaningful and generative way, right? And not just in a way, oh, I'm not saying at all that you're doing that, but I'm just giving you like I'm just putting on a spectacle for you to be entertained and to consume, and and then you go home and you forget about it, right? That's I guess what no artist wants when I mean, we want to touch people, right? We want to connect to them. We want to like transmit something with this work that makes them think, that makes them feel something that they wouldn't have thought or felt connected to if they didn't see that work, right? So there's also something about generosity there. There's also something about an intention there. So that I think is a good next step also to try and now that we have all the overlaps and all the fears, to see how the work can actually already does facilitate some of these connections, you know, and how when you go back into studio, some of these connections could be worked out a bit stronger and be made like a bit more translatable, tangible, activating for the people that are there to share this work with you. Does that make sense?
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah. So
let's come back to the call because it's ending in a minute.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt.
Okay.
It's the same link. We should do this like you know, like I was thinking, you know, Annie and Danielle, they're doing this, you know, 15 minutes.
I was thinking the same.
Yeah. I mean, they're brilliant. Yeah.
But do they close their eyes? Is there somebody guiding meditation or something, or is just being there?
There are two variations. One is like completely quiet, like close eyes. But another variation is that it's still like closing eyes, but they are leading. There's another person also, and
Okay.
they guide
Yeah.
with the voice. Sorry, just like okay, you're here. Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. We're all back. One thing, like I know, Dani, like your intention, what you said about this, like I think that's basically like about empathy, but also like I wanted to also jump in about like I was thinking about like white tears, you know, like white people seeing this struggle of, let's say, like people of color, etc., and you know, empathizing, but not in a way that because they don't really know the struggle. And that's probably like something I would struggle. I mean, Jorge and me, we were not coming from here. And yeah, I guess that's something that will come in the process. But yeah, I just wanted to say that.
No, I think you're totally right. And like similar to you, you know, I don't identify as white and I know exactly what you mean, but that is on another level, right?
Right.
That is someone else's problem. That is not your
True.
problem, you know? But
Right.
the result of that, let's just think this together for a second. If you, as a result of being afraid of like accommodating to a system of like whatever white fragility, you know, as a result of that, are not able to move with your core close to you, that is your loss. That is not the odd. If you stop like being genuine, generous, and don't allow yourself to be at your own core out of the fear of what is someone else's problem, that is your loss. If someone, because you are generous and vulnerable, is projecting white fragility or whatever onto you, that is their problem and responsibility. And I think it's a really big mistake to, you know, yes, we all operate constantly in systems of exploitation, in system of like all these systemic violences that, of course, as non-white people, we have a very different relationship to than, you know, others. However, like it's also really complex, but I do think especially because of that, it's actually especially, instead of thinking of it as a kind of exposure mechanism, which yes, it's true, I understand, because you make yourself vulnerable, but it's also at the same time, and that's the reason actually why we're doing this, a protection mechanism for you. Because if you are true to your own core, you know, and you know what you can fall back on, and you know why you're doing the things, and this connection is real, nobody can take that away from you, you know? Whereas if you constantly mend, you know, and to a point where you are unsure yourself at one point, talking to 10 different people who potentially like will program your work, let's say, and you get so lost in that process through accommodating, you know, that is actually something that's harmful to you. That's harmful to you and to your creative process and to your artistic practice. Does that make sense?
Totally. Yeah. Thanks.
But it's please, like, I mean, also if you're like unsure about it, it's super important also, like I'm it's like you don't have to like just like if something doesn't make sense that we're doing, or you have other thoughts about it, like please bring it forward, because this time is for you. This time is for you, you know. I'm here to be at service to you, not the other way around, you know. So it's like if there's other things that you feel like, okay, I was wondering about that, or that does feel weird, like please bring that forward, because that's exactly why we're doing this process, right?
Thanks. Yeah, I just noticed that it's sometimes like we're not like, talking face to face. So it's sometimes difficult to know when to interrupt and so on. But yeah, it's good that you mentioned. Yeah.
No, interrupt anytime, please. Like this is your time. This is not my time. So can we think a little bit about now, can we like move a little bit to the work now? And when I say the work, of course, please keep in mind that what I have seen of the work is the materials you've shared with me. So maybe in the meantime, there's more materials. So please include everything, also the things that I don't know. Can we just think a little bit together how you feel some of your fears and vulnerabilities are already present in the work? Because there is already a lot there. We're not doing this because you don't have enough or because there's nothing there. We're doing this just to, you know, it's like Pilates, like we're strengthening the core muscles, right? We're just like, you know, so there is all of these things. I mean, just from what I have seen, all of those things are already there in your work from what I've seen. But I want to hear from you where you feel in the certain practices and certain actions and certain setup and certain aesthetic and certain vibe and in whatever it is, like where these things are already present for you, and where you are now in your process.
Right. Do you want to start, Jorge?
But how, like, so can we frame it a bit more like so are we using the overlap or
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
are using the overlap, right?
Yeah, we're using the overlap and we're now reflecting together a little bit of like, okay, what's already there in the work, you know, and and what could be a little bit, you know, strengthened, tightened, trained a bit more. And then also maybe what other, because there's now of course a lot of aspects, because we're talking about vulnerability, so there's of course also a lot of aspects that are there in the work that we didn't mention there now, like playfulness, like, you know, the sandbox, like all the things you have like that, you know. So I would like to now kind of see first from the overlap, what do you think is already present for you in the work?
I see. You want to start now too?
Like passing the balls. Maybe like we just like one person say one at a time. And I can clearly see that like empathy with machines, that's probably like really clear with how we work on the stage.
So you mean like we are more advanced in that? I mean, the when the work is there, so
It's
we are
already
more,
there. Yeah.
yeah,
I
it's
don't know if
barely
it's clear or
there.
not, but at least for between us, it's really clear.
Yeah, I yeah. So Then I said like the fear of not knowing ancestry or the future. No, I think this is something that the future. I need to refer to the way how I tackle that. I wonder we have forgotten about our roots and language. I think there is something. So I think slowly we are start working, acknowledging ourselves, like in this idea of ancestry, I guess, or where are we coming from? But I think there is more that we can do there. Um, so we have some work done on that regard, but there is more that we can do on acknowledging, yeah, ancestry.
Can you do you have any kind of, did you have any intuitions about this? Do you have any ideas? Even, of course, this is just like a brainstorm, but like, is there any kind of things that shot to your mind? Because I remember, for example, in the video you sent me this moment where you just say this, continue with this sentence about on the way to the train station. And I don't know even if that's true, but I immediately connected it to, you know, your mom and a very like kind of personal story, even though you don't explicitly say that, you know. Um, so that is the first thing that shoots into my mind, from the materials that I've seen, you know.
I think one thing I can think is I think it's especially when it happens on unexpected, so on the sandbox or on a practice, for instance, on I think on the show or what you saw in that video, at some point now to start going into to start speaking Japanese for a long time, and I was not expecting that, and it was that was a bit uncomfortable for me, um and that was interesting. um yeah, he just ramp up, I start speaking of something, and I know what's going on, um and I remember that we addressed that afterwards, because I thought the way how I react to that was, in hindsight, we spoke about afterwards, it was too fast, because I was not expecting, he never did something like that, and I thought there was that some if something like that could happen in the future, I could just have shared that, what I was not knowing how to do, with the people, because I kind of I found a way how to respond to that, but I could have pass, or share my uncertainty, I guess, with the audience that it was there. I keep it to myself, and I found a way how to resolve, but I thought that it was something interesting there to share with the other ones who were in the space. And that was coming from now to speaking in Japanese.
And there was also like me like being really mad at one point, like and saying some yelling at you in Japanese.
But it
So,
was
but that's a
that's the
different one, right?
point. It's not the same point. Like now to start like just yelling, and yeah, just going on in a solo for some time, and yeah, yeah. So that's something that I can think that he just, I don't know, I don't know. He's speaking in Japanese clearly, but he goes for a long in a long monologue. And then after we spoke about it, but was about, maybe it's not so relevant. Um,
No, but it's relevant because we talked about
what
it.
was happening? What was happening?
I don't remember.
I don't either.
I don't think,
Um,
honestly, also, because what matters, I think what you said in the very beginning, Jorge, is crucial, that these kind of moments where you share genuine feelings on stage, that they're spontaneous, right? Because otherwise, like, it's of course is, so this is a perfect example. So you say Naoto goes completely mad on stage and you don't understand why, and it's like a genuine thing. Or the same way
right.
when you were saying into the microphone, on the way to the train station, right? Where you say it's a spontaneous thing, it's a genuine thing. And that's really crucial because all these deep feelings and vulnerabilities, we cannot like stage them. Otherwise it just becomes theater. So it's a perfect example. So one of our building blocks, let's say, if we come up later with a menu, one of the parts of our menu, it's a card. We can also work with cards. Now Otto's already working with card. We can have one card, you know, where it says, whenever you have a genuine deep feeling, you know, you can just pull the card and do it. And then instead of like being confused, like you were moment, right? Because you're like, oh, what the fuck is happening? You know that it's part of your menu. You see, so it's like it's somehow like a grid, but it's not a grid that gives you like a written choreography. It's a grid in which you know, okay, these and these and these are the elements that can happen. And some of the elements you know how they will happen, and others of the elements you don't know how they will happen, which will also create a genuine dynamics, right? So in a way, this is a perfect example of one of the things. And I think we could also like oops, sorry, I'm making this red. So I think we can go through all of these now, more, you know, all of these fears or how they are, and then also add the joys and the playfulness, and then come up basically with a kind of provisory idea of like how we could dramaturgically work with that. You see? You see, you look confused, Jorge.
No. I think it's okay.
Okay.
That's
I think
my
it's just like it's like a lot of information at once. So
Okay,
to
sorry.
me, it's like I think generally like yes, and but also like if I understand everything, probably not. But I think the general direction, I'm
Okay,
excited.
also we have time today, so also we can, you know, we can go deeper into this also, but let's just go through them now like we just did. We went now fear of not knowing, fear of ancestry. So what about the fear of the other? Where is this present for you in the work already?
I
And
mean,
if yes, how?
yeah, exactly. So if the way how I see it is like, I guess the other, and that's a space where uh, we need to work, is the other as the others who are in the space. Uh, yeah, like audience, but also I guess technicians, just the others in the space. Because now on me, we are working together for some time, so is yeah. So there is work to do in acknowledging and then finding how to position the audience in that space, especially for us because this work, like I mean, the framework is interaction, and at some point there is a workshop somehow. So there is an interaction, a literally interaction with the audience, which I think would be a next step, but maybe we don't have to go there yet.
Exactly. Let's bracket that one out for the moment because this will be our final step also, you know. So let's like now think about the fear of the other, like, because going back also just a little recap of what, for example, now to like what like the fear of how to be read, the fear of like of being contextualized in another way. I mean, this also all is the fear of the other, right? Because it involves like how are you being read, and are you being read in a way that feels comfortable and genuine, and I mean, in a world that you create, right, which is literally the case, in a worlding that you create, you want to make sure, you can never be 100% sure, but you want to do all you can do to be read in a way that feels good to you, and not in a way that you feels terrible to you, like in the rest of the world, for example, right? So so where is there moments, for example, now in the version that we can all talk about, is there something where this is addressed other than the audience, or because is the machine the other also? Is Jorge the other? Is Naoto the other? Is the other inside you? Is the other I
I,
or
yeah, I have like
yeah.
another take like from what Jorge said, like because I see more like the audience, more like ally or like who are on the same page mostly. Well, if there's like cis white dude, I don't know if I count him as well, but um, what I wanted to say is, yeah, because I was reading the glitch feminism book, and she says that she goes to online
Sorry,
to
book I didn't understand.
the glitch feminism book.
Glitch.
Yeah,
Okay.
because she kind of like says that, like online is the place for her that she can, create her safe space, and real life is no, it doesn't say real life, it's away from keyboard. And I see that the stage for me is like her online space that we can create something safe. I can dress up whatever I want. I can say whatever I want, but also respecting others. So in that sense, like audience is kind of like part of us, and maybe I'm addressing this, I don't know, whiteness or whatever that is I'm not comfortable with. Eh,
That's very good. I like this idea very much that basically your stage is like an online space, but then translate back into like
I found this interesting also because I mean in on online interactions there is I mean in one side like there is less concern for how to behave, and then people I guess let go, and it goes in extremes, they can go bad or good. But what I found interesting is that the mediation of the technology, it make the people feel more at ease to just say things out raw. So I guess what I'm trying to rescue from there is like they're more honest to something. Yeah, so without going to the extremes, but I think it's easy to be honest. Yeah, that's just interesting.
and in a way both of you are, I mean, correct me if I'm reading this wrong, but for what I've seen in terms of your presence, that feels like the two of you are very much there. I mean, if I look at you, I mean, now that talking to you, I understand that not everything is the way it looks, and you also have your like insecurities and things. But if I look at the two of you, you both, I mean, the greatest quality that I see in both of you is that both of you have a very genuine presence in the work in very different ways because you're different people, but both of you, no, none of you feels like they're acting theater. None of you actually feels like they're very concerned with the audience or what the audience or somebody else thinks. This what you're saying, you're almost like behind your computer and nobody's watching you. That I feel is already quite strongly present for me.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that if I speak from what I see is like I mean, of course, there's a lot of uncertainties and depending of the framework and stuff, but at the moment we start practicing again, I guess I feel that I'm doing something. Yeah. And I'm not questioning what I'm doing. Or it's maybe that's not completely true because the questioning would pass, but I also it goes. So I don't attach too much to the meaning of what I'm doing, and I'm working on something. And that's maybe that give me space maybe to go again to what I share that is specifically I guess in relation to this. When I wrote about the fear of uncertainty, and I mentioned to do. I think you and me as individuals, well, not address. So this is, let me just try to go through some space in the text. So this is to now, I think you and me as individuals, while not addressing each other, have experience and body, yeah, that space, like meta stability of that abstract space, something, um, we get into, we get into our individual work and blah, blah, blah. So an example is I might start shaking my hair or you might start coding something on the computer. So like we are busy and we are genuine. So it's, I agree in what Danny's saying, but then something that I wish to do work more is that so we are more in that space that I call substance or matter, something that is abstract and it takes form into me shaking my hair or now to work in code. And is honest that space. But when we start addressing directly each other with some of these gestures, I feel that we often react too fast. So that's what I use the word. And I feel if what we are doing is, if I'm what I'm doing is shaking my hair, or the example of Naoto going in that space of being a solo, that's why I guess I think it doesn't matter that much the content. Like Naoto in the monologue of being mad, so that's the form that the substance take in that. So it takes that concrete form of Naoto now being in a monologue, but he's addressing that to me. When he's addressing that to me, I often feel that, like as it was the case in the performance, I will react too fast to that message with another form. So what I wish to that we can expand more on that is to stay in the substance. So again, an example with Naoto talking to me, then instead of me reacting so fast, then I wish I could have stayed longer without answering and then seeing what happened with the form. And this is something that is true, I think, for both of us, that I think we are good in creating monologues in the space, but like when literally in that communication, the emitter receiver message one to each other and then staying there in something that is concrete, I think we could do more, or I wish that we could work more on that. Um, I hope that's clear somehow.
That's very clear. Thank you for that. That's a really useful.
Does it make sense for you, Naoto?
Yeah, I think so. I'm a bit lost like where it came from, but the point you made, yeah, is clear to me. And I guess that's also sometimes we talk about in more like a choreographic, or how do you say, like especially like when you came to Dortmund when I was working with Floor, that was like kind of the dynamics
Yeah, yeah,
you were
yeah, yeah.
mentioning,
Exactly. I think in that, yeah,
the
if you go
dynamics
back
of the
to
group.
Dortmund, when I was mentioning the idea of like somehow like the dynamics to somehow like feel that there is the weight is more balanced. I feel right now in the space how we perform in Ljubljana, for instance, is like we both are very much in solos. We are in solos, and I think will be interesting if sometimes we have more space to literally stay talking to each other. I mean, this is just in a specific case. Um, that yeah, that's and I connect that with not with the fear of death or uncertainty. So is that in that space of not knowing why Naoto is speaking right now in Japanese for so long, and me be, I guess, afraid of maybe dying on stage or like how maybe people can read me if I don't react in a proper way or in a magic way how I have been working before until you destabilize me. Because I can feel, for instance, from that performance is the of course I by myself I will feel insecure many times of what I'm doing, but as I said, I just let it pass in a practice that I know what is happening and I just believe in my work and I just keep on working. But in that moment, I feel without tools. I feel stable in that space.
I'm somehow kicked out of the doc. I cannot continue. I don't know if you guys are at all seeing what I wrote now, or if it saved that or not.
We see which color are you, Dani?
Well, I'm writing all these things here, but it's telling I think I have to leave the doc and try to open it again because it's not I don't know, it's kind of stuck and I cannot type anymore.
Maybe it's a connection because
Could
I
be.
see you,
Yeah,
but not I don't see your text. So maybe you could just copy it and
yeah, copy it before, yeah,
You
somewhere
don't
else.
see any text that I wrote? Nothing?
right now, no.
Oh no.
So, but maybe just copy paste somewhere.
I can't even copy. It's like completely, it doesn't matter. I will remember it. Let me just try to come back to it so that I don't.
Yeah, take your time, Dani. Let's take your time. Don't worry.
Fucking puff.
And we have a good internet now.
Wait, I will go on 4G. Maybe it will work better. Yes. Yes. Okay. I'll just do my okay. Okay. You don't see in the thing work menu the things that I've written?
Where is it? Work menu. Yeah, I
You
think
don't
now, I mean, this whole column, yeah, you are there. I lost a bit track, but I think it's there using the stage. No, that's before pause, not to immediately resolve from through
no,
reaction. That was old
that's
one.
and I wanted to also add, I just added something about the last thing Jorge said about the instability. About, yeah. I mean, this is a bit here. Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
This is great. Do you want to add something to this point now, Otto, or shall we move on to the next one?
This specific point, I think it's good.
I mean, also just to clarify, because he said already twice that you're a bit lost. I think now, I mean, we did all these points, so we have them and we can move from them. Obviously, all those things are connected, you know? So we're using them as an excuse to look at it now from a certain angle. But I think the more we move on, it doesn't really matter anymore where the things are coming from.
Yeah.
It's more they are there, right? So
Yeah,
it's
okay.
just like kind of crotches, if you want, that
Because
maybe
they will overlap, no? Like I mean, they overlap in more in time.
exactly they
Yeah.
all have and they are connected, obviously, and it's a bit like yeah, it's a bit like crutches, and maybe soon we don't need them anymore, you know, not in the sense of that we don't need them anymore internally, but that it doesn't matter anymore when we talk. Oh, like also now when we talk and then something jumps to mind that you feel, oh, but it's actually more connected to a fear of health or something. It doesn't matter, you can just say it because we can just like, yeah, you will see it. Just to say, like, don't feel confused about it, it's all good.
Maybe just one thing to add about dynamics. I think one thing that actually works for us for now is that the green screen where we come together and we had some kind of, ideas like blowing the hair and so on. And that's like a clear, how to say, choreography or whatever you can call that we do something together.
In the green screen,
Yeah, at the very, very end. Yeah.
Yeah. That, I mean, that's good that
It
you
could be
mentioned it.
worked more, but
Yeah, because it's good that you mentioned it, because somehow, I mean, for instance, in the performance, you can see in the video that we sent, at some point at the end, Naoto is saying, he's calling me. He's saying, Jorge, come, because he wants to go to that space that, I mean, in the sandbox, we know that at the end of the sandbox, we are dancing no matter what. But because I was busy very much with the lights, so I was busy with with the machine, trying to then think in how, I guess, can the show look or feel from the light. Then I'm not there in the green space. I mean, it somehow is, although we didn't spoke at that, I mean, that night, at the end, we go to the green screen. Green screen is something that I guess if in the sandbox, I will understand. I will understand fast, because in that moment is Naoto is addressing me. It's like, and he literally saying, come. Um, so yeah, it's good that you mentioned that. There is this in my head that I use it for, and I use the word during the performance. I said, like, when much is too much, and I use it constantly. And I think that I can relate that in all of them. For instance, like, it's not to say that it's not important what I was doing. I think there was a reason why I was doing what I do at the moment. And also, it's not that it's not important now to wants to go there with me. I'm not trying to say what is better or worse, but then when much is too much. And I don't think there is necessary a need to answer in a binary way, like now or then, because I think it's a process that happens in the moment, understanding its milieu. So it's just, I use the word like it catalyzes the potential of the substance. But for that, then we need to be, I guess, as much as we can open, but that's not true. Wait, I getting lost in what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that this when much is too much is not necessarily an answer. I'm not expecting an answer, but just a recognition of the space, and then sometimes to have this.
Can I jump in and try to translate also to see if I understood you correctly?
Please.
So you give the example of the when much when is much too much, you know? And I agree with you. It's nothing to be answered because everything is too much all the fucking time, right? If we want to, and I think you're on the same train here with your piece, go for a world that is infinitely complex and not like reductionist, like all the isms, you know, that we're trying to avoid, you know, like fascism, sexism, racism, etc., you know, is like, of course, in an infinitely complex world, everything is constantly too much. But it also has to do with, again, like when are you kind of and at this, let me put it like this: everything is constantly too much, which doesn't need to be answered, and at the same time we can move, we can play, we can experiment, we can feel, we can find pockets of feeling comfortable with this too muchness, and we can at the same time also have moments of like overwhelm and instability, and there what you say about the pause is very interesting, because the pause, the hesitation, the kind of also, instead of having like, now you are very much in a call and response, right? Like in, out, you know, what if there was something in between the call and the response? It doesn't have to be there all the time, but just as an additional tool, what if there was also a hesitation or come back to me later, you know? So instead of like, you say something, Naoto reacts, or the other way around, or you do something, the machine reacts, you know? Again, this is extended to all the web of relations. What if there was something like a kind of pause or a light or something that is a sign of now is pause? and then other things happen, and then maybe someone will come back to it later, or maybe not, you know? So like think of it like it could be a card, but it could also be let's immediately go into the set. Like it could be a lamp you have when you're doing something, and then you put on the lamp, which means don't react to what I just did. And this is then for Naoto or Jorge or the machine or whatever, you know. Maybe you can even wear like headlamps, you know, so you have it on your body. So if you put on the lamp on your head or something, you know, as part of, I'm just like saying something stupid now, but something that's always with you. So it's not like you have to walk somewhere to turn on a light, but something that's like on you, on your body, where you like poof, you know, it's on, immediately a sign for the other person. Like, don't resolve this problem immediately with a reactionary form.
That's
Let
great.
me finish this. So you let the problem be, right? So and then also at the same time, because Jorge, or I don't know who said it before, you have also this moment of like, but I cannot have too much instability at the same time. So then you move to another point on your menu, you know, where if too much becomes too much in that moment, you have other things on the menu that you can go back on. So you see, so it's neither like an artificial reduction of complexity. No, you allow the infinite complexity, but it's also not, oh, I'm completely lost at all moments, completely open and vulnerable in this like endless field of complexity. No, I have actually a toolbox, a card, a sign, a physical object, an action, you know, that I can fall back on, that makes me feel from the too much is too the it's too much, which will regulate me back to a kind of playful, joyful capacity, right? I don't know how you guys are with time. I have time, so I'm happy to just like also go through the list if that's okay with you, and kind of wrap that up. So we finish that part if that's okay, or do you have to leave?
I have time. I don't know now too.
Yeah,
So
me
but then
too.
maybe just to recap, like then the idea will be just to finish then the list now.
Yeah, let's finish the list, and already, I mean, already the way I'm taking the notes, I think, I don't know if that already makes sense for you, but we can already come up with some basic tools for our menu, right? I mean, it's like they don't have to be that, but at least we have a basis to think about that. And then until the next time we meet, we can think about those things more concretely in terms of ideas, you know, and then really continue with that also, I guess, once you're in the studio.
Can I propose something? I mean,
Yeah.
if say like that we have more time, so I will say like if we can finish then what the exercise we are doing, I will then I will propose if we can take some pause and then to look and reflect on the work menu, and also I guess all the conversations we're having, because I think many information is passing right now. So I think if we finish the exercise of in the column that is now called work menu, then we take some pause and then we come back to reflect on that.
Okay,
Does that
for me, that's fine.
now also?
I feel like I'm a bit saturated.
Okay.
Okay.
Also, like here it's like 1 hour ahead, so like I want to have lunch at some point.
Yeah. But could be even, I mean, so it depends. It's up to, I guess, more up to you, because it could be also maybe after lunch. I don't know.
I mean, the afternoon, it's like, I mean, I have time now, but I don't have time later, because once I go into the studio, I will stay there. But
Yeah.
another proposal, we could meet on, let me think. I mean, we could also schedule another meeting maybe for, I don't know, Monday or Tuesday. I have to say next week though, I have to work early. So I have to, because I have the full week rehearsals and the rehearsals are from 10 to 6. So I can totally work, but it has to be early. It has to be like from 9 to 10, for example.
Yeah, that could work also.
Yeah, that's good with
Maybe
me.
because you're full also, we don't have to push it now. We can also say, let's stop, or if you have a few more minutes, like let's finish the list, and
Yeah.
and then we kind of do like a recap. Where are we? Where are we going? Like on Monday, which doesn't have to be so long. It can be like an hour Monday morning at 9, for example.
Okay, so what I will suggest is then let's finish the list, the overlap into the work menu column, and then we see where are we.
Okay. So we did fear of, is that okay for you, Naoto?
Yep.
Okay. So fear of the other we have here. Fear of not being enough. Human activity, trust. Where is this already present in the work somehow, or is this something that's not present?
I would say like it's sort of related to like empathy with machines. Like maybe that's like one way of like addressing from my perspective.
Can you expand on that a bit? I mean, it's specific, say like from the performance, where, how.
I mean, it's more like our like proposal against it, right? Because it's about like consumerism and oops, yeah, like abundance, and the way we see it is, you know, not to have state of the art, whatever. Well, we have expensive tools too, but in a way that we work closely with the machines. Like that's like a different approach from, you know, developing new things faster, better, whatever, more resolution.
And how you connect this with this idea of like the fear of not being enough?
Because fear of not being enough is, you know, like producing more,
Okay.
right?
Okay, so not being enough as like we don't have the best. Okay, I think I see something.
I mean, also we have this trust
No, but it's
about,
okay now. I think I get it somehow. Like, let me try to translate somehow this. So, because we both are in the same thing. I think the piece is, for instance, although we could have, I mean, we could use other machines, yeah, or do, I will say like, from the perspective of do more technical complex things, is not necessary for us to do it. That like we can, I don't know, like I often, maybe help me to, if I often when I start working with technology, I have an idea, and then now I see like doing uh installations, like working with sensors, motors, or things that they are like anything that is just a piece that it depends on another piece, is it demands, it's it can be problematic. So I have this analogy. I said like an installation is like an opera to the arts, like doing installation work, as in creating a media installation that you see, like big installations with, I don't know, lasers and this kind of thing that you will see and media festivals, I do the analogy to the opera, as in the opera you have different components, and normally you need a bigger budget also. So now in the work, in the way how we decide to work is based on, and I also use that in my, I guess in my practice and also in his practice individually, is just with the computer and me. Like often is like just web-based work. So then there are no more pieces there that might fall. So if we take that into the space, I think we, especially in relation to technology, yeah, it's in relation to technology, we are austeros, like how to say, like I think we try to not use more that is not needed,
Mm.
or to not make, like, and also to not make use of the in the tradition of media art, often installations that the grand public will see are things that they are fast and bombastic and spectacular. We specifically choose not to do that, to be spectacular with the technology. That's not the role.
Yeah,
So
or
only,
like I would say, like, we're not doing it efficiently, or, well, in a way it's efficient, but in a sense that, like working, functioning perfectly how it's supposed to work.
like maybe one example of that is like kind of like the holy grail always when you speak on dance, and then technologies like motion captures, like that's something that is always comes, like we don't use that, or we haven't at some point I guess we use. Wait, how to sell this, we have to share with Dani, but I think it's interesting also this exercise, because there is something in what Naoto says that I think is in the core of especially in the in the reasons why we choose to work with the elements that we are working. In the way how we work, I think we both are, I guess, are in the same line. We think that we are, as the word that I'm finding now is austero, like not cheap but reduce. We try to be economic in our
Austere,
work.
austerity, right?
Austerity. Yeah. That's we try to work in that way. So then we are not depending if some things are not there in the space. And so that's with the physical materials, because we are in the space, but then also with the knowledge that we bring into the space. Say that especially Naoto, for instance, I guess, so he has more experience working with the system, so he can create, I don't know, he works sometimes with robots and things like that, and I also have my expertise in. So we don't do the kind of things that I guess we do for others in work, like to work in Auto's work, I guess is like efficiently. We are not, we work in with austerity. Um, yeah, sorry, I guess this is a comment in what Naoto is saying. I don't know what can we do with this. But maybe this is interesting because, for instance, like I remember that in like, maybe it's a question to Dani, like, so how, if I'm sharing this with you, Dani, like that's the reading that you will like in the reading of your piece, also in the text that you wrote, you see that there's a lot of technology, right? Or how can you describe, how can you relate this that I'm saying to the way how you read the piece, Dani?
Yeah, I'm thinking. I'm also sorry. I'm also taking notes and while you speak, so I don't lose things.
Yeah, but I think I just saw your notes, and I think that summarizes very
I
well
didn't.
at the
Sorry.
bottom.
Here, not
Like
being
this
helpful.
thing.
Machines, empathy with machines. Okay, yes, empathy with machines, fear of not being enough. Resist consumers' interactions. machine. How can abundance, computer and me are enough anti-spectacularity, anti-visual intentional misuse of technology, their procedures, not dependence on the state of the art circuit. Failures and acceptance are welcome. Yes, the only thing I guess I fear of not being enough produces consumerist interactions with machines. How can we abundance instead? I didn't understood that.
That's why I put this red. I didn't put this red. I put this red because that is not something that, in a way, I mean, this is more like in society, right? I mean, I was just trying to make a connection between also in society, often the fear of not being enough produces like consumerist behavior, right? Because you're like, oh, I'm not enough. So I buy that cream and this product and this shit and that, whatever, we all
Right.
know that. But
Yeah.
and also in this part of this link of consumerism is the machine, right? Because we order it on Prime, we go like on Uber, whatever, So so it's also like a very it creates like a very reductionist kind of relationship to the machine, right? Where it's
Totally.
exactly this master-slave relationship in which the machine is like my means to an end to produce more and faster, and
And that also includes the people who's working
exactly
behind the scenes. Yeah.
And then how can we like I don't know, how can we have like an abundance of relations and like instead, but also just the antidote to what is written there in red is basically just the computer and me are enough, and that relates to what is upstairs, like move like no one is watching, when I'm behind.
Yeah. Oh,
Right.
can you repeat again what you said? I lost you for a second. The last thing.
I said, so the antidote to this, right, what is written in red there under the fear of not being enough would be what we wrote upstairs, the move like me, the one below that, just the computer and me are enough, right? And then makes me able to move like no one is watching. Also the freedom of the online space, for better and worse. I think we have to also be a bit critical about that, because as we know, people also do terrible things with that freedom, but in your case, focusing on the enabling, liberating, joy inducing possibility of being like no one is watching, right?
Yeah. There is, thanks for that, Dani. I think that's what it feels that is dense. Because I think this that we are trying to do is where I think that in a zoom out scale is a problem often with humanities and hard sciences, or like say dance and technology. So but this idea of working with, so the pharmacon, this idea of working with the poison being the remedy and the poison at the same time is something that I think might be useful. Um, yeah, so the cure is the poison at the same time. Yeah. And yeah, maybe I don't understand that, but maybe I could share something because Bernard Stiegler speaks about this specifically with media, like with video, with media, with cinema.
I mean, this idea of the cure and the poison comes from like ancient Greece, right? It's
Yeah,
really it's like a really old idea related. I think it was what's his name? Hippocrates who talked about this in terms of like health, right? That each cure, like he was talking about a relationship to food, like that food can be your medicine, but at the same time it can also be your poison, and that in fact it's like that with every cure, right? So and and the and I think a good way to put it, I mean, it's funny, I'm talking a lot with Ada about this, my daughter. And it's really like, I think it's very much about related to context and also dosage, right? Because sometimes too much can be the cure. Sometimes too much can be the poison, you know? So it's not always that, oh yeah, small doses of everything is just like a good recipe for cure. No, sometimes you need to get like fucking wasted, and that's like the best thing you can do. Sometimes you get fucking wasted and it's like the worst thing you can do for yourself, right? It's like, or sometimes you have to, you know, eat, or I don't know. I think that it's a very good so in terms of to link that to machine and to media, of course, I think there's like right now, as we see also with Palestine, I mean, without social media, a lot of the resistance would be really fucked. So we're dependent on social media. It's contributing to healing, you know, and at the same time, with all the fake news and all the propaganda bullshit out there, it's also like the biggest source of poison. So I don't know. And that's very interesting to think of your setup in general. I think the whole stage, you know, that you're producing is in a way also, yeah, there is something of that, because it is in a way too much. It's like over, how do you say, over technologized almost, right? But then because of that, it becomes playful again, and you're able to combine things or link things or let things fail in their relationships to each other, which kind of eases up this relationship to the machine, and which allows for like a joyful thing to come in again. And through that, you are also, that's also like a kind of cure, right, of the kind of technological predicament that we're in. So you can play with that idea. And again, it's like the, when is much too much, you know? There's no answer. Is it a cure or a poison? It's just like a kind of field of tension in which you move, and where you're constantly like going there, and playing with these, or this, am I enough? You know, is it enough? And again, it's like there's no answer. Yes, you are enough. Like, yes, you are enough, but yeah, you will always have moments of where you don't feel enough. So again, it's just these fields of tensions, right? I
Yeah,
don't know
maybe
if that.
I want to add something that, I mean, there is a specific moment in the piece where I think is it goes in that point. For instance, like there is like these robotic lights, and we have 10 of them. I mean, there are like, I think 9 of these lights are outside of the theater, and there is one robotic light who is inside. So when we were, yeah, I literally was thinking, how many lights do we need to have that? And at some point in the performance also, there is no sound, and there is no light, and there is just the machine is moving without light. Normally the light has the robotic light moves with light, but at some point the moving light is just moving with just making the sound that is quite clear, but there is no light, and it's just the machine. It's just the light being, or at least that was, I guess, my intention was trying to share like the light, just the beauty of the light without the light. So like the body of the light as a living object, that it was enough just by being without the light, just one light moving. And then
Mhm.
also at some point, also in another moment, also he was trying to catch the movement of the light. That was also improvised. No, uh, there is this solo of the light, and there is kind of a focus on the light moving with emitting light, and now to start trying to follow the light somehow with his body.
Mm.
Uh, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. My feeling is that there is also is because that's my research is like I feel there is a lot in that space, in that conjunction of why why there is so much tension, in dance and in technology. So I think there is way more coming in there. But I guess I found interesting what you just wrote, that can we become more precise intentionally with this? Because I think this kind of I see that as a kind of a key aspect and to make it visible. Because for me, in the research and then the sources that I found, is quite clear that it comes with this clarity. But I guess in the stage could be interesting if we can try to translate into something that it has this form that it speaks uh with clarity.
Mm-hmm. Let's like, I mean, this is great to think about between now and the next time we meet. Like, let's just like park that. I think it's really a key question also. By the way, all the pink stuff is the thing that we will work on, right? So it's, I mean, we will work on the whole thing, but the pink stuff is basically kind of ideas for the grid, right? Or the let's move on to fear of death and uncertainty.
Mhm.
Is that present in the piece for you currently?
I'm not sure. Maybe the uncertainty, but I'm not sure. It's more about each other or at
The
least
way
I'm not so, yeah.
the way how I see it is like, so I guess this I wish that, I mean, through this exercise, I realized that it's important for me to acknowledge death, because it came quite clear to me, the reflection and then the mediation with the technology, how technology helped me actually to be in the state that I am. I'm very grateful for that. And so I wish we could reflect that somehow. That's something that I see. There's many angles how I personally can criticize technology, but the health is one that I am very grateful. Like, I don't know about politics of health. Everyone knows about that, but and she don't like it. But for what I get from the health and technology, I'm very grateful for. So that's something that I would like then to do something with it. Also because that's something that is personal to me. Uh, and I feel also that is, yeah, I feel it's not so complicated. There are other topics that are more complicated for me to position, but this is something that is happening for me right now. It's in my daily life. So, and then the other topic was, so then death, and the other way how I would like them to think on death, or death uncertainty, like is by, yeah, acknowledging somehow the, or maybe just to question what is, I guess, the idea of animosity or life, what is alive, what is animate. These things I think are in that regard. So more than death itself, I will move it to what is alive or what is animate. And then from that perspective, also then we can speak in the language what we speak with. Now do we use this idea of grouping and ungrouping, or this idea of magnitudes? What is a system? Like my hand can be a system, but I also could be my system. Or Naoto, me and you, Dani, right now are a system. So the idea of magnitudes, or the words that we use with Naoto, is grouping and grouping. That's something resonates there for you, Naoto.
Yeah, but also like I never, I think, spoke about this. And also like the word kinesphere is not really, maybe it's not really appropriate, but there was this idea that kinesphere is talking about oneself, right? But then there's someone saying that kinosphere, like the French nous, like us. So, it's not about the sphere of yourself, but like what if you're like with others, like how can you extend that? But that's just something popped up. But yeah, this ungrouping. Something I wanted to add about death is I was reading Audre Lorde because I'm a good student, and well, she talks about I mean, she was fighting cancer, and then there was this essay about like, yeah, you can't be quiet, you will die and you have to speak out. And I think that's something I would like, that's in her book, that was like something that resonated most to me. And it's actually, in a way, it's already there, and we can work more about it.
Can you expand a bit on this, because I think I'm lost. Can you share with me a bit of this idea of the noosphere?
Kinosphere, I mean, it's a word
No,
play with
the noosphere.
We were
uh,
just mentioning this on the side. It's like the new, like in us, the us sphere, right?
yeah, because the original idea is a kinesphere, right? Like,
Yeah.
the relation to your body, but it's not like a specific diagram, but you can also extend this idea to two people or more people, and having this kinesphere of
Okay.
the
As
group
in
of people. No,
nosotros,
it's
like nosotros,
exactly.
or
Yeah,
kinesphere, or okay,
exactly.
yes. And what was this idea of Lorde and the cancer journals?
Yeah, because she knows that she's well, she was fighting, she had cancer, and also she's activist, so like, you have to speak, you have to raise your voice, because you will die. I mean, you can't be
Okay.
quiet.
Yeah.
And I can send you, it's like 3-4 page chapter in the book, I think.
I mean, Lord is interesting in regards to your work. I don't know, you saw also that I quoted, or not really quoted her. I like had this twist on her master's tools and master's house, also in the text that I wrote.
Right. Yeah.
So, but I think Lord is a very interesting, is not obvious at all with what I'm seeing when I'm looking at your work, but I think conceptually, and I mean, it's very good material to bring in. Even Jorge, we read, I don't know if you were there, we read already several times during E&O on the erotic, which is like one of the most foundational texts for me, for my work in general. But that's also a really great essay to read. And I think it's also, it relates in a very unpretentious and indirect way to a lot of things we're talking about here, but through the idea of the erotic. And in your universe or multiverses, this could maybe be interesting to use this, how she talks about the erotic, and to link it to your relational web with machines,
Would you share that text with us, Dani? This
Yes.
on erotic?
Yeah.
Actually, it's very interesting because we didn't really talk about identity. I don't know, like we spent 2 hours, and I mean, there was a bit of that, but like identity, like heritage, yes, and also how do you say it? Well, like sexual, like gender identity, like that's something is very strong to me, and also like it's something that has been changing over like 4 years. Like we like from where we started, I think now we're in a very different place in that
True.
sense, and that's something we should definitely like. I mean, it's there in the performance, I think, but also we could be really yeah, we can work more on that.
Yeah, actually, that's a good idea, because I think I don't know, from the outside can be read also as anything, but could be interesting then to find ways. I guess that's what I like, is to, if I see everything as a substance, then sometimes this substance, it can be formalized into something that is trying to speak certain language. So it could be that at some point that maybe could be uh it could be about or sexuality or identity in the sexual manner or erotics in that sense. There, yeah, I guess there is something we haven't worked on that. There is, I think there is space for that. I found that there is. It will be interesting to explore.
Can I say something about this?
Please.
I mean, as much as, I mean, especially, you know, as queer, non-white people, etc., women, like it doesn't matter, like, or non-binary, I think anyone that also inhabits marginalized positions, you know, for the question of identity is extremely important and useful. However, I find to get stuck in identifications, especially in a kind of hyper complex. I also wrote that in the text. I feel we are, I mean, that's how I read it. And of course, it's what you want. If you want to go into the identity thing, I'm very happy to do that and to work with you on that. And I've worked on this for many, many years. When I looked at this, what I thought about, what one of the aspects to me that was refreshing with your work, especially also from a political angle, you know, is that you don't get stuck in identity. You know, is that you truly are moving as identity has never existed, you know. And wait, I know that sounds dangerous, and again, I think it's a bit like when you explain to, like, we all the time talk, oh, binaries are so bad, right? When you're a kid, when you have a kid and you want to explain to them what tall is, you know, you have to explain to them what small is. Binaries are not bad in and of themselves, right? They are bad the way humans are getting stuck in them and are using them, right? So if we get stuck in binaries, that's fucked up. But it's also fucked up to demonize all binaries because we need them. They're like steps, right? I think the same is something very similar is happening with identity. We need a discourse around whiteness. We need a discourse around sexuality and gender. We need a discourse around whatever, all the isms, all the, you know, social justice, etc. Super important. As you know, I'm super engaged in those things. However, I think there too, if we get stuck in them, you know, that is a very dangerous then it turns into yet another form of division, you know. And I think what's so powerful about what you are proposing with this work for me is that you offer other possibilities of connection. Of course, I read it like that because that's my métier, right? So of course I look at everything through relationality and possibility of connections and abundance of connections and new connections and stuff. Maybe that's not where you want to go. And I'm here for you. So if you want to go somewhere else, that's completely fine. And we will do that. But when I wrote the text and looked at the material like intensely, I was actually very happy. It felt to me like you're opening a space around identity. Identity is included in that space. It's not that it doesn't matter, but it's not, you know, encapsulating identity in any way. And I think that's a really, really powerful, for me, that's very powerful. That's one of the more powerful aspects of where you're at, you know. So just to say, that doesn't mean that we cannot talk about identity or that it doesn't matter or that we shouldn't spend time on it. I'm just saying how we do it, you know. I think we should be very mindful around that.
Yeah, thanks for telling us, because that's
Wait,
actually,
just sorry, like to know, like that we have to come back also in 1 minute.
yes, I'm mindful of time. I started like now because I start timer so that I know when it's exactly finishing. But just saying that, yeah, we should come back to talk about the next plans. I mean, we should also schedule it. We also should have a toilet break, maybe 2 minutes.
Yes,
And
yes.
yeah.
But please.
But yeah, just one thing I wanted to add is I think we don't really, we're kind of free with the gender in like two of us. I never had like, I know I'm exploring whatever, but also like there is not much like confrontation as much as I have this like autism or being yellow or whatever. And with the gender, like I'm just so free and like whatever. And that's how my life is, and I know that it's different for other people. And probably that's why like the performance gave you this impression. That's something I was reflecting on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
But
I think.
let's
Oh yeah,
come back.
yeah. Can we go pee
Yes.
and then come back in 2 minutes?
Yeah.
I will give me 3 minutes because I have to pee and walk down to make a coffee. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe
Please
let's
take
come
your
back
time.
in 5 minutes. But yeah, just take your time. We come back in.
Perfect. Okay. See you
Yeah,
in a
just take your
sec.
time.
Like, you ever like looking back at these videos?
If there's something specific, I don't do much,
Okay, but
but it's more
also
like a habit.
not going online, right?
Yeah.
We are live streaming, babes. Say hello to the
We're
world.
live streaming, there's like
Hello,
1,000 people watching.
hello.
Exactly.
Hold
I have to
on.
say every time, like at the end, like please subscribe.
Okay, the last thing I read in your notes was maybe then also to round it up, or I don't know who was speaking last.
I-
Maybe you can.
Wait, so maybe just to come back to the, I found very interesting the things you were saying, Danny. But I guess so. I wrote I would like to understand better Danny's reading on the piece. So what you were saying, I found very interesting, but I think I would like also to take more time to
Okay,
understand your reading. I found it interesting.
so
Yeah.
we do the time maybe or now.
No, not now. No, I think
Okay.
that we move on. Like
Okay.
so, but with this idea of identity, I think I would like to hear again, and maybe we can take time to break down some things from there.
Okay. Um.
We can move on from the, where were we? Fear of disconnect. What? We were in fear of that. What? I don't know. Where are we?
We did fear of death. I mean, also like existential moments. And then I don't know what's the next one. I don't have the doc open here.
Well,
Fear of.
there's disconnection from family.
Ah, yeah, disconnection from family. Which funnily links to another aspect of identity. Yes.
And I also was thinking because the way who I read it is, especially from Naoto's gaze, this is very useful because then, I mean, I work with Naoto, but there's a lot of embedded things that we don't speak. We are formed. I think we are formed. We are used to be formed. So we don't speak on the form. So when you speak about, I mean, the way how this is my interpretation of things that you said it before, is that then the audience is somehow an extended family in this idea of fear of disconnection from family. I found that interesting. Um,
Interesting. I mean, I
but,
didn't say it's like, yeah, go ahead.
but I found interesting is also because with my family, family, they don't, I mean, that's what you have and they have you. So there's not much they can do. It's not like they're gonna break the relationship at some point. They will be there, normally. So if from that point of view, then although the relations can get complicated and complex and the way how you can be yourself or not, um, you are what you are, like, you don't hold yourself too much. It's like you are in pajamas all day, or, it's just, um, it's a relation that it has many layers because I guess year passes. And so there are many, many things that I just pass and problems and then scars and also happiness and tears and all these things that just build together in that web of relationality with family, with what family is. And so I found interesting then somehow then to think, but somehow then that's my reading of some of the things that you said, that in that horizontality, then the audience is an extended family.
I mean, yeah, or maybe, yeah. I mean, that's the interesting part of where it almost reaches like a spiritual dimension, right? Because it gets like very close to this, like we're all family, or we're all like, there's in the good and in the dangerous sense. Again, there's like something where where it's like equalizing all relations, or pretend, or and at the same time potentializing all relations, right? I also think that's an interesting point. Maybe you can write that down because I cannot take notes right now.
Maybe something that I found because then it's something that maybe I start like interweaving between previous what Dani was saying about identity, and this point is um I think it's important to understand. We are also in a similar process with Naoto and speaking. We speak about like we are in a process of trying to get and speaking about the unit or make differences. When one thing stops and when the other begins. Um, this is, I guess, in this space, the way how I see it is that somehow this idea of the essence, somehow from in that Spinozian way, like to find what is the essence, what is this relevant? I mean, what is the essence from this idea of horizontality in family that maybe we could use? Because not maybe like if we use all the family, as how really is my family to me, or maybe how is my extended family, or my queer family, maybe it's not that what I want from the audience, because all these families have different relations with me, and what they mean to me and what I mean to them. But maybe somehow this idea of finding what is essential in the relation of the family is interesting.
Yeah, just jumping on to that because I was thinking, because I think I didn't say it audience as an extended family, but also like I was actually like reading some Black feminist topic in my research field. And what's interesting to me is like they see it, like a family, right, with other Black people, which doesn't exist in like my like culture or like viewpoint as Japanese. Like when I see Japanese people outside Japan, I don't see them as family or like brother or sister. But it might be different. Like for example, in China, probably it's a little bit different because they have all these Chinatowns everywhere. It's probably because they have more like this, hood or like a family kind of relationship with other Chinese people who are not necessarily from the same family. But like you said about the essence, I think that's something we could work on.
But maybe there is something that maybe the word belonging is there also close to,
Yeah.
right? And that's attached also with this, being enough or not being enough, belonging.
Yeah, and also if you turn around the fear of disconnection, it's also, if you investigate that, it's also a possibility for connection, for new connection, for different connection, for other forms of connections, right? So, and that is of course very related to belonging and to, and especially to come back to the online space. What does it mean in an online space, in an internet space, to belong? Like, that's interesting. I think we should note that down also. And then maybe there's also something else about codependency that comes to my mind, because in your piece there is, or let's say there is a codependency in us to machines by now. We're all super codependent with our machines, right? But also there's something very interesting with families of like codependency, shared traumas, shared unresolved, unspoken, invisible, like dependencies and all that. And that there's also something about your playful, intentional misuse of technology there that I think could be an interesting link here.
I think I didn't follow that. Sorry.
So let's say, the fear you were speaking, I think it was you, Jorge, in the previous etape about the fear of if the machine stopped working, that it also would mean for you, because you're in touch with your family via the machine, right? And I'm thinking in general, that is like we are codependent on our machines, right? I mean, we cannot do anything anymore without our phones, our computers, right? Our whole life is like mediated and dependent on machines also, which, yes, we can frame in terms of kinship with the machines, the machine as our friend, but we can also frame it in there also machine has become part of our family, literally, right? Because without the machine, the connection to our family is there is a codependence. And I think this is very mirrored in nuclear family, coming back also to identity and how all those things are intersected. We are families are very often codependent systems, codependence on trauma, codependent, like there are a lot of like unspoken and invisible, also dysfunctional codependencies within family and also kinship relations, which I think is very interesting to reflect on, in your case, through the kind of family web you're creating also with the machines, right? In the positive and in the negative, like, again, it's not about it's one or the other, or we're going here or we're going there, or we're going to resolve this in any way, but just as another field of tension in which we're moving, right?
Yeah, now I start like just imagining, for instance, if so. Yeah, I think this idea of I think the trickster is an image that I think could be interesting in that relation of, I mean, the way who I'm start like jumping, my head is between this codependence, and then say, for instance, in the performance, the beginning. And it was often me, the one who's like freaking out that things has to be like tight and like just ready and time and some like things like that. So before the performance, I said to Naoto that he needs to have the control, and we slow down the conversation. Like, it's really funny how we are running at some point. We just talk like if we are kids, and then, okay, so you take the remote, and you do this, you switch off, and then you put it there. Like, it was something similar, like, but it was about the remote. You do that, and it was in that space, and then I do other things, because that was kind of like the beginning of everything. So I'm just thinking that there is a codependence in that space. In one sense, could be from me to Naoto, but also it's interesting that maybe, just as an example, uh, as a trick also, I could just maybe hide the remote from you, um just as an example. So for instance, like, so, well, we know that there is, it will be interesting to understand where are codependencies, especially in the space, especially when there is the need for these binary actions, especially with the machines, that you have to switch on or off. There is just that. So then when there is certain things that we know they must happen, there is a space. So it's not that we have to do yes or no, but that there is a space to understand that there is tension there, to understand the codependence.
Maybe you can note down investigation of entanglements, because I think codependency is maybe is a word that has a lot of negative connotations also, right? Which is okay. That's not a problem. But I think in general, this like question of entanglements in regards to familiarity, in regards to belonging, in regards on depending on each other or codependencies, just to write that down so we don't lose it.
I will say like, I mean, I'm not sure if I will say like maybe put a slash. The way I see it is more like with the affect or like how this affect me or how the tension uh because with the word entanglement I also because in the way I start seeing somehow is that I'm start seeing more there is some options but they are not infinite options. So there is so the idea of the entanglement bring me to the space that is more entangled.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay, I see what you mean. I understand.
Sorry, my brain's already done.
Yes.
So I don't know, like I think we covered everything for now from the overlapping topics. And yeah, like would you suggest something? So we said like we meet on Monday at 9. Is that 9 to 10? Is that still a
Let me
If
check.
if
plan?
if that works for you, that's fine for me. We can also move it a bit back. It can also be like another day next week at 9.
Maybe if we can have because we have our meeting at 11, right? With now also.
Yeah,
So can we do that maybe Tuesday at 9?
sure.
Okay.
That's okay with me. Yeah.
Um,
I'll write in the chat.
1 hour just to be clear, because at 10 I have to start working with another group.
Yeah.
Uh,
So
as
9
in
to 10. And then what we do in between?
so what we do in between is we really each look at the things that I mean, this list that we made right now, you know, and really reflect deeper on like, okay, what do we need to work on more? Do you already have concrete ideas for this? Doesn't have to be yet concrete, but maybe there will pop up to just have like an open brainstorm on what kind of methods, tricks, procedures we can use in order to highlight especially the things that we said, okay, this we need to work on more. And I would say on Monday we do like kind of a recap to like also if there's still maybe if you still have questions or things are unclear for you, or also desires, needs on how we are going to now move into another phase of this process where we're going to be more concrete about what's happening on stage, you know. All of this, I would say. And then from there, I think the next step would be then not on Monday, but the next step would actually be to come up with a kind of grid. Let's not call it structure because it's more like a kind of grid or whatever to fall back on, right? Another question I have is, do you have any news about the dates yet and about the contract situation?
So the dates, we're like going back to the original idea that we sent you. And yeah, basically, the idea was that after this, Jorge and I will talk about it and come back to you. But basically, the idea would be like with the fixed amount, we calculate according to your rate and the hours.
So
We finalize it to the hours that you proposed, basically, so that we have the rate that
Okay.
you suggested.
So just for my planning, can you just send me the dates again of when you want me to be in Tallinn so that I can also start looking into flights, and also most importantly arrange it with Ara's father that he will take her for the days that I'm supposed to have her, and because these kind of things I need to soon communicate with him, otherwise it will be difficult.
yeah.
Yeah.
We will come back to you. I think today we can send you a message on that. Or
Okay, perfect. Super. Okay, thanks a lot. That was very
Thanks so
intense
much.
session. I hope it was in any way helpful to you. I very
Yes,
much.
thanks.
We have a grand menu now.
You have a grand menu.
Colorful also.
Yes.
Okay.
Cool. Each
See you
other
on Monday, babes.
Tuesday.
Tuesday.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a
Yes,
Tuesday.
yes.
Have a good
I'll write in
weekend.
the chat. You
All
too.
right.
Ciao, ciao.